The objective for this short video is to compare and contrast Barkley and Brown's models of ADHD. In another lecture, we will look more carefully at the neurobiological differences of those with attention disorders. Dr. Brown received his PhD from Yale and is an APA fellow, having authored over 30 articles and attention scale, and served for over 20 years as the associate director of the Yale Clinic for Attention and Related Disorders, and was on the clinical faculty at Yale Medical School. He has put forth an attention executive functioning model with strong clinical applications. His model is very practical, and I prefer it in my own work with students in my position at Bethel. Dr. Brown defines executive functioning, this ability to focus, plan, and prioritize and manage tasks impacting 6 areas of functioning. The first area is in activation, which involves organizing tasks and materials, estimating time, prioritizing tasks, and getting started on work tasks. Clients with attention disorders describe chronic difficulty with excessive procrastination. Often they will put off getting started on a task, even a task they recognize is very important to them, until the very last minute. It's as though they cannot get themselves started until the point where they perceive the task as an acute emergency. The second area is focus, which refers to sustaining focus and shifting focus to tasks. Some describe their difficulty in sustaining focus as similar to trying to listen to the car radio when you drive too far away from the station and the signal begins fading in and out. You get some of it and then you lose some of it. They say they are distracted easily not only by things that are going on around them, but also by thoughts in their own minds. In addition, focus on reading poses difficulties for many. Words are generally understood as they are read, but often have to be read over and over again in order for the meaning to be fully grasped and remembered. The third area is effort, which involves regulating alertness, sustaining effort, and processing speed. Many with ADHD report they can perform short-term projects well, but have much more difficulty with sustained effort over longer periods of time. They also find it difficult to complete tasks on time, especially when required to do expository writing. Many also experience chronic difficulty regulating sleep and alertness. Often they stay up too late because they can't shut their head off or their minds, and then once asleep, they sleep like dead people and have a big problem getting up in the morning. The fourth area is emotions and managing frustration and modulating those emotions. Although the DSM-5 doesn't recognize any symptoms related to the management of emotion as an aspect of ADHD, many with this disorder describe chronic difficulties managing frustration, anger, worry, disappointment, desire, and other emotions. They speak as though these emotions, when they're experienced, just take over their thinking as a computer virus invades a computer, making it impossible for them to give attention to anything else. They find it very difficult to get the emotion into perspective, to put it to the back of their mind, and to get on with what they need to do. The fifth area is memory and utilizing working memory and accessing recall. Very often, people with ADHD will report that they have adequate or exceptional memory for things that happened long ago, but great difficulty in being able to remember where they just put something, what someone just said to them, or what they were about to say. They may describe difficulty holding one or several things online while attending to other tasks. In addition, persons with ADHD often complain that they cannot pull out of memory information they have learned when they need it. The final area is action, which involves monitoring and regulating self-action. Many persons with ADHD, even those without problems of hyperactive behavior, report chronic problems in regulating their actions. They often are too impulsive in what they say or do, and in the way they think, jumping too quickly to inaccurate conclusions. Individuals with ADHD also report problems in monitoring the context in which they are interacting. They kind of fail to notice at times when other people are puzzled or hurt or annoyed by what they've just said and done, and they fail to modify their behavior in response to specific circumstances. I've seen this in interactions between kids in elementary and middle school classrooms. If the child doesn't become more sensitive to what other people are thinking and feeling as a result of their actions, they will begin to lose friends. Often those with ADHD also report chronic difficulty in regulating the pace of their actions, in slowing self and or speeding up as needed for specific tasks. Most children, adolescents, and adults with ADHD report these 6 clusters of impairments as chronic, to a degree markedly greater than persons without ADHD. These clusters are not mutually exclusive categories. They tend to overlap and are often interactive. Executive functions impaired in ADHD are complex and multifaceted. Dr. Barkley is a clinical professor of psychiatry at the Virginia Treatment Center for Children in Virginia Commonwealth University Medical Center in Virginia. He's an internationally known researcher, an educator in the field of ADHD. He has over 300 peer-reviewed research articles and many books. He's authored the Barkley Adult ADHD Rating Scale and his books, When an Adult You Love Has ADHD, Professional Advice for Parents, Partners, and Siblings, and Managing ADHD in the School, the Best Evidence-Based Methods for Teachers. He also has a seminal book called Executive Functions, What They Are, How They Work, and Why They Evolved. All of these are great resources. Dr. Barkley argues that those with ADHD struggle with executive functioning, or those neuropsychological processes needed to sustain problem solving toward a goal, including focusing, prioritizing tasks, and organizing steps toward that goal. He argues that those with ADHD typically have impaired self-regulation, with a deficit in orientation to the future and less ability to regulate responding. He argues that they have time blindedness. His model of executive functioning and self-regulation focuses on goal-directed, future-oriented actions. Both involve sustaining actions over time to achieve one's goals, and both include problem solving as part of those goal-directed actions, and an attention disorder can impair those actions and focus. There are 4 main functions that an attention disorder impacts under the umbrella of impaired executive functioning in his model. Those with ADHD struggle with working memory, which includes the ability to look back in the past, look ahead to the future, and hold things in mind. He argues that those with attention issues don't develop internalized speech or effective internalized speech. This refers to the private speech or internal dialogue that helps against impulsive speech and helps us reflect. Along with Brown, he identifies impact to emotions, and he specifies emotional control, or the ability to self-regulate behavior by intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation. He also highlights that those with attention disorders may struggle with problem solving as a result, including the sub-skills of analysis and synthesis. Barkley has gone so far to relate specific abilities and deficits to parts of the brain. His model is much more neurobiological in nature, which shouldn't surprise us since he's a psychiatrist. But both models are really helpful to our understanding as clinicians how this disorder may impact life functioning. What key characteristics are getting in the way of positive work and vocational experiences, and even family and intimate relationships? Dr. Ed Hallowell discovered later in life he had ADHD, as his behaviors almost brought his marriage to an end. His book, Driven to Distraction, is an excellent read and narrative of how it can impact one's daily relationships and vocation. In another lecture, we will learn about the neurobiology of ADHD, but more importantly, how differences in functioning in different parts of the brain impact daily behaviors.